Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday morning. The weather is lovely here in Helensburgh. But today I have the absolute privilege of speaking with someone whose work is as transformational as it is soul stirring. Michelle, also known by her spiritual name, Kali Devi, is a deeply intuitive guide, clinical hypnotherapist, and energetic healer who helps people connect with their truth, clear lifelong patterns, and step into who they were always meant to be. Her journey didn't start on a stage or in the spotlight. It started like many of ours do, behind the scenes, running a business, raising a family, doing her best until one day the whisper of "there has to be more" became too loud to ignore, and she followed that call, and that call has now become her life's work, helping others awaken, reclaim their power, and remember who they are, remember who they are beneath the noise. Michelle brings a beautiful blend of grounding experience and spiritual depth to her work. Her work isn't about fixing you, it's about freeing you to be who you are and allowing that truth to lead. How are you this morning, Michelle?
I'm so good and very excited and grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, this is a call whether you're navigating self-doubt or stuck in a scarcity mindset, or ready to finally say yes to the version of yourself that's been waiting in the wings. This conversation is for you guys. So, pop a two in the chat if any of this is resonating with you, because we want to hear and find out whether we're all kind of dealing with the same kind of blocks. I know that I definitely have all the things that I've been taught over the years, women's roles in the home, all those sorts of things, women's roles in owning businesses, those sorts of things as well. So this one's going to be huge, a mind-blowing event. I spoke with Michelle a couple weeks ago. I met her at our beautiful Engadine Market, a friend of Linda Taylor, who's also on the call today. Um, and just I was overhearing the conversation she was having with Linda, and some of it just really just was like a bulldozer to my mind. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to get this woman on a call and get her wisdom and out to everyone. So first off, we're going to start with a big question. Okay. Why do you think so many people, even hardworking ones, feel like they're constantly struggling with money or just getting by? Like, what do you think the hidden beliefs or energetic patterns are at play here?
Yes, well, thank you once again for having me and for allowing me to speak about the stuff that I really love to talk about. And I think that's the key that and the thread that I'm going to weave through all of this. Because when we come into that vibration of passion and love and joy, things naturally gravitate to you. You naturally become magnetic. So I'm really pleased to be able to talk about the stuff that really brings me joy. And it also brings heartache because I can see within when I speak with people and when I work with people that they are struggling with these unconscious or unresolved emotions, patterns, traumas that are secretly hiding underneath. And so there's a varied recipe of things that can occur. So you've had a beautiful introduction where you actually shared the story earlier on. Sorry, I don't know your name, that the first lady that spoke. Um,
Charlotte.
Charlotte, sorry, Charlotte, explained how, we're entrained as children with the language and just with the unconscious words we're using. And so there is that sort of language and thoughts that are a really big part of it. And the thoughts do concretize into beliefs when they're thought often enough. It becomes this, highway in our brains. But there's also a new school of thought that it's not the thoughts that first start the problem, but it's actually the emotions that these things begin with your emotions. So it's really an interplay of what I would say the four bodies: the mental body, the emotional body, the physical and spiritual bodies, and the energetic bodies, all working together to create this frequency that we emit out into the world. And so there's this soup of information that is creating that frequency. And so beliefs is one of them. There can be past life trauma, and there could be ancestral trauma. And so it's a combination of these things that form this hidden layer and current that we swim in. And this distorts that frequency. So it's not our true innate frequency. So the patterns that I see most common come from scarcity. I call it the scarcity wound. And as a society, we actually swim in that. And so, as that story so beautifully illustrated at the beginning, we swim in a society that actually thrives on scarcity. That's what patriarchal society has given us. There's a hierarchy. There is a not enough in that hierarchy. You've got to be more, you've got to be more, you've got to be more. And that has been entrained in us for thousands of years. The stories that women should be sacrificial so that they don't go for their dreams. That's the ultimate woman that has been put up there. That's a patriarchal framework that has come through as well. So we are always swimming. If you think about the marketing that's out there, it's like, hurry, this is the last one. Don't think about it, do it now. There's a time poor scarcity thing that creates that urgency. So I first want to say that we have to kind of really be aware of this that we're swimming in, and we will be swimming upstream a little bit. So it will be that we have to really become aware of our thoughts, become aware of where I'm, allowing this to stop me. So that's the first and biggest one. There's not enough. And that flows through our energy field in a way that says, well, there's not enough time, there's not enough money, I'm not enough. And so that flows into the next wound, which is worthiness. I'm not worthy. And that's another huge one. And I could spend all day talking about that one as well. I'll probably have to make these answers a little bit shorter or we'll be here all day. But worthiness is another one. And that really comes from what I would say primarily a mother wound and a father wound. And that's where our needs and desires have been suppressed. And that's really important in this work that you're all talking about today, is not being able to even dream about a desire because we haven't even addressed our needs. So that's a big one. Judgment is the next big one. And I'll finish with this one. And that is the fear of judgment. And we have another little current that runs around us as well. And we'll call that the money is evil current. Mm-hmm. Where we have been told through ancestral belief systems that money is evil or wealthy people are greedy and that sort of language. And that's another one that is so entrained within us that we don't want to be that, because even movies and marketing again pit us against one another in an us versus them kind of format. So think about the movies where the villain has all the money and all the resources to destroy the world, and then some local hero comes along and destroys him. And it's kind of like the us versus them mentality. So if you think about that, and even in the teenage movies, the rich mean girls at the schools versus the poorer girl with the, hand-me-downs. We keep getting this dialogue happening, and we don't want to be wealthy because we'll be them and then we'll be judged. So this is all going on, and there's, other wounds that go along. Then, I'll probably touch on them through some of the other questions, but there's some of the big ones that are just sitting there that we swim in and we don't even notice. So we've got to become sort of detectives or architects. What do you call it? The people who dig around and dig for the bones. We need to be that. We need to look in underneath what's going on.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. One of the things that really stood out for me in your reply there, Michelle, was the worthiness.
Yes.
Like I've been doing a lot of work on myself lately, and one thing that just keeps coming up is I'm a younger sister. I have a sister who's 18 months older than me. She was very good in school, and my whole childhood, all I remember my parents saying is, "Why can't you just be like your sister?" And she was academic and she went to uni and she did all those things, and it's kind of ingrained in me that I'm not like my sister. I can't further study. And I've always felt stuck in this hairdressing job because I've always been really, really good with my hands. And I learn really quickly just by looking and listening. And I've always thought, oh, no, I can't do uni because I'm nothing like my sister. So it just shows that all the little words Andrew popped in the chat, it's observing your parents as children as well and what they're saying to you and that dialogue that's coming at you from a very, very young childhood. It's just opening a can of worms, I guess Pandora's box, all those sorts of things too, when you really deep dive into it. And this kind of like brings me along into my next question is we're taught to study hard, to get a job, to save for retirement, but so many people do everything right and they still end up financially stressed. So why do you think that this model of working 9 to 5 for corporate companies, even for yourself? I know myself as a hairdresser, if I'm not behind the chair, I'm not making money, which means I don't get time for sick leave, I don't get time for holidays, all those sorts of things. So, why do you think that this model is failing so many, and what new mindset is needed to break out of that model?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you so much for your vulnerability and sharing that. And that is a real core mother wound. And when we sit in that not enough, it is basically in that model that you're talking about. And so basically the model you described is a scarcity model. So it's encouraging us to look outside of ourselves and value ourselves in a model that says we're never enough. Because even if you do get that academic achievement, there'll be another one, or you get that job, there'll be a promotion that you're going for. It's never enough. You're never enough. That's the model that we're sitting in, and it's a really patriarchal model. So it doesn't serve us, and it teaches us to look for our value and our worth externally and outside of ourselves. Even in the situation that you described, and I hope I can use, if you don't mind me using this,
Yeah,
but
go
I think
ahead. Yeah.
the more the more real it is, the better it is. That when if we are struggling with a mother wound, where, for example, you had that situation where you were taught really with those words, I'm not enough. As children, that is devastating. You know, if we're not given the love that we deserve, that we innately know as a soul that's come into the world, and we're not given that love, we start to, because we think our parents are God, and because they're our survival mechanism, we can't sort of, just leave as a toddler, we have to somehow make sense of this. And we do feel, I think someone mentioned, like just feeling and the energy about discussions about money when we're young. So it might not be even words, but picking up on the energy of money stresses and things as we're young. And so what we do is we have to make meaning of that in a way that we can control it. So someone who is feeling that they're not enough could then develop the patterns of people pleasing, striving to be more, trying to be the A+ student so that you will be loved, so that you will be approved of. And that model that you're talking about really feeds off that. It really feeds off that. You've got to be more, you've got to do more, you've got to have 2 houses, not just one. And it's, because you're never enough. So what we have to do is really do the hard yards and go cut all of that noise off, which is so hard because that's what we all model ourselves off. Redefine what success means for you, because that's important as well. And to go within. And because the real work is going to begin from within. The approval that you need has got to come from within. The love you need has got to be given to you and come from within. And so we've got to flip that. And I guess the key truth I wanted to kind of drop here is that when we can come into that space, knowing that we are source energy, that we are divine, we are universal life force, whatever you want to describe that. Excuse me, I'm coming off a cold, so I'm drinking a bit to just keep that tickle out. But when we see ourselves as source energy, and we understand that money is source energy, we understand we are money, that we are source. And when we can come from that powerful place of knowing we control the scenario, and control is not the best word, but we are magnetic in this scenario, we are the creators in this scenario, then when we know we are source, then money is attracted to us and power is attracted to us because we are power. I don't think there's any one of you here, even if you're not on a spiritual path, would not think that, source energy is power or God is power. And you need to understand that you are that. And so it is a journey. It is a journey to do that, but it is redefining what we as an individual believe success is and really tapping into that love, self-love aspect, because that will be the pathway forward into becoming that magnetic being that you're looking for.
Yeah, that's so true. And I feel like for everyone on this call, that success will look different, depending on your feelings, your energy, all those sorts of things, and what you really want to get out of life. I guess it's taking away what society and upbringing has taught us is successful and then removing that and just really looking in and finding for you what success feels like. And I guess like um a lot of like network marketing companies when they do their training they go find your why, and that's basically the behind of it. Like it's what is it that you're trying to achieve that will basically make you feel fulfilled and successful.
Yes.
That's what keeps you going. And it's all to do with thoughts and internal feelings. And you talk about the idea that thoughts create a reality. Can you explain how someone's internal dialogue about money, success, and self-worth might be holding them back without them even realizing?
Yes. Yeah. And I think I want to just add to what I just said before and maybe illustrate it in a different way that might make sense to people, because this was an aha moment for me as well, is really what this game is all about that we're talking about is this inner work of really moving the dial of self-esteem. And one of the key things that would sort of maybe illustrate to you where you're sitting on that dial and where you're kind of getting blocked as well is, does your mood change when you see the dollars in your bank account? Do you feel less worthy when you have $0 in the bank? And do you imagine that when you had $1 million in the bank, you'd be more worthy? Because the truth is, you are just as powerful with $0 in the bank as $1 million in the bank. I can show up here with $0 and you would know no different, but it's how it's impacting me and my frequency that would make the difference between whether I'm connecting with you at the level that I need to be connecting with you at my true power and sense. So I kind of wanted to add that to you because that's what it means to be source energy. It's not, there's this saying that says your self-worth is not related to your net worth, right? And so I think that's a really important one to think about. Does your mood drop when you don't have the clients coming through the door? Does your mood drop? Is it all dependent on this external validation of success, right? So I just wanted to kind of add to that as you were speaking, that came through to say, so with the thoughts creating your reality, and whether it starts with the emotional or the thought, doesn't matter. What's really happening is it all impacts our frequency. So if I start to drop my frequency because, oh my God, I'm not got no money in my bank, then all of a sudden this changes the energy that I'm putting out into the world and emitting into the world. It distorts it. And so that's where it makes this massive impact energetically. To put it in practical terms, if we don't feel good enough, if that's a thought form that we've got going on, then we are going to block money because of many different varied ways. But let's just use this example. If you don't feel good enough, you tend to lead into burnout or overwhelm. So if we travel that thought down a little bit, what would happen is the thought of having more clients, the thought of, and what happens when we don't feel good enough, we tend to give more. We tend to give more,
Mm.
right? So that means we can lead to burnout because we think, oh my God, I've put my prices up and I have to do more to
Justify those
justify it, right?
prices. Yeah.
So what can happen is it can feel overwhelming. I have to spend more time with them. I have to do more, or I have to give more. And so unconsciously, this is all going on, but it can block these people coming in because ultimately you think, oh my God, I can't do it. It's too much. I can only have this level of clients. There could be another fear where I don't feel trustworthy with money. So we'll do another example. If I don't feel trustworthy with money and we are trying to manifest larger sums of money to, have freedom, holiday, time with your children, whatever it might be, if we have this belief underneath us that we are not trustworthy with money because society has said women can't have money for a long time, we're just coming out of that, couldn't even have credit cards 50 years ago. And if perhaps you weren't good at maths at school, and so I'm not good at maths, so that I'm not good at money becomes, a belief sitting underneath there, then having a large sum of money coming in and having to manage it and look after it is scary. And so we unconsciously might spend it quickly or block it from coming altogether.
Yeah, because we
So
don't know what to
can
do
you,
with it when we've got it.
yeah, right? And so we'll manifest some sort of sabotage or something to stop this work coming in. So I'll give you a live example. For me, I ran a program called Be Your Amazing years ago, and I did it really well with my inner circle people who had known me for years. And then it went so well, I thought I'll do it again. But I was just feeling blocked and procrastinating. So we'll procrastinate when there's a fear going on, a block going on. And so I thought to myself, the real reason I thought I was doing really clever, analyzing myself and doing the work. And I thought the real reason I don't want people to book in is because um, I think that they need to know me for longer to pay that kind of money. I think they really need to get to know me because I'm a bit weird and I'm a bit woohoo and, I'm nervous. And then I suddenly hit me that it's not them that need to get to know me. It was me being scared of them. And
Right.
so I was unconsciously blocking because I needed to get to know them. I needed to feel safe with them because I was scared of judgment, right? So there's a block. So there's some twisty little ones that give you a bit of an idea. Does that kind of answer what you were asking, or did I
Yeah,
go?
I think it does. I think it's one of those things like again, it's going to be different for every person
Yes.
because it really depends on where they're at in their life. I feel like people that at all walks of life will have the same kind of situations, but I feel like people that are potentially a little bit more mature will feel a little bit more comfortable in their skin and who they are, whereas people that are a little bit younger might be again in the same kind of situation where I know I've definitely felt like it in hairdressing where you question, okay, do I charge these prices? But you kind of just go, well, I've done the work. I know what I'm doing. I've just got to trust me, in knowing that these are the prices that I'm worth charging.
Yes. That's the sweet
And it
spot.
comes into network marketing as well because it's not so much as a charge for or like charging someone because the company that you're working for sets the prices, but it's the energy that you put into training these people and the energy that you put into having the conversations with your potential customers. And that energy that blocks. I know there's times where I'm in momentum and I'm talking all the time and I'm having all the conversations and the energy is buzzing, but then when it falls flat, you stop talking about it because you're like you start to second guess whether you're competent in doing what you're doing. But you obviously are because you've had that time where you've been in momentum and the energy's been flowing.
Yeah, and that's the frequency bit that you just mentioned right there.
Yeah.
That's a perfect example. And probably when things were going well, the money was flowing, the success was feeling good. I'm going according to the plans of what everyone thinks, this looks like. And then as soon as something would have happened, there might have been one knockback or not even a knockback in your business. It could have been something else in your personal life has
Definitely.
dropped your vibration or shifted. And that little belief, that little self-doubt, that little imposter syndrome raised its head and switched your frequency around.
Yeah.
And when we're in low self-esteem, we become graspy and needy in our energy. And people don't like that. It repels
No,
them.
icky. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. So I'm one of these people. I've definitely I've read all the books, I've done the journaling, I've taken the courses. but still isn't seeing the financial breakthrough. What might we be missing, I guess, at a deeper level as to why there's still not that breakthrough, that breakaway?
Yeah. I mean, as again, like you said, this is an individual thing, but and so the nuances will be slightly different. But basically, we are coming back to that frequency things, and to look at that, and I guess the one word would be embodiment. Embodiment. And so embodiment allows us to be in alignment with our true self. And so we need to look at all of those four bodies. What's going on in our mental realm, which is the thoughts. And a lot of people focus their time and energy on mindset. And it's true, the words we use and what's going on. We need to weed the garden of our mind for sure. But there is attention needed to the emotional aspect, the emotional body, emotional mastery. There is understanding your energetic body and what is, sitting in your energy field, clearing your energy field. And one thing we haven't touched on is things such as potential, like this past life trauma and ancestral trauma and soul contracts. So we can be carrying energy in our energy field that's not even ours, thoughts that aren't even ours. They're things that we have picked up in the womb or passed down through the ancestral line that are impacting, sorry, our energy field and working away at distorting it. So there are some deeper things involved. And so a soul contract could be, some of us might have made a vow of poverty when we were nuns in another life. And so when we get to a certain limit, then that can kick in, that's not good. We have got this vow of poverty. With the ancestral things, I'm not sure if I was going to touch on it anywhere else in our conversations, but I'll say it now, is that with ancestral energy and past life, well, really familial generational energy, there is this other trigger that we've got to be aware of. So we were talking about approval and the need to be in a tribe and belonging. And so with that belonging essence, if we are going against the family beliefs and rules, like money is greedy or you just need to be happy with what you've got, then we are going to be caught in a conundrum where we don't want to go against that rule and be cast away from the tribe. So if you're going to earn a lot of money and be wealthy, and that is going to be judged as wrong by your family, and that's that sort of generational rules that you've got going on, then you risk being cast from the tribe, and that feels like you're going to die. That feels.
Yeah.
So
And I
there's some really hidden things sitting in there. And I guess the real key, if I was to say anything, is we need to be fully in our body. And to do that, we have to go deep down within our body and face all of the emotions, all of the fears, and all of the programming that's going on.
Yeah, I feel like you spoke on family, but I think even in friendships, I feel like
Yeah.
there's this massive um like ideology, I guess, in network marketing. And I've heard it before within people that have joined different companies of people saying, oh, like, oh, you've joined network marketing, get ready to lose a bunch of your friends because they just don't sit on the same, they don't understand, they don't believe what you're believing. And it's the same kind of thing, like when you've joined, but you're committed, but then you've got friends that just put a block up and aren't interested. It can really put pressure on those relationships too. So you've just got to be really sure in yourself that you're doing the right thing and not I guess get other people's ideas and thought processes affecting what you're trying
Yeah.
to achieve because
And
it's about
people are coming from their fears.
yes, yeah,
And that's why they judge. And when they're judging, I think it's really important. I do this whole class on this. It's really important to understand that they are actually revealing their inner world.
yes,
And so they're giving you, it's intimacy really, because they're giving you an insight into their world. And it is very important that when you have a passion and a seed of desire that you are working on and allowing to blossom into the world, and by the way, that is your job. You have desires and they're yours and uniquely yours, and that's your job to bring them to life, really. Then it's important to guard that and to not tell everybody. You don't have to tell everybody. As an entrepreneur, it's important to be around people that are going to support you and nurture you and help you, water that desire, feed that desire in the right way. And so it's okay not to tell family and friends if you already know that they're going to not support you. And just through your inner confidence and sense of peace, they're going to see that it's right for you, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be right for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because there are definitely people they join, they're all excited, and then all of a sudden they've told their family and friends, they receive negative feedback, and then they're just like, oh, I can't do this because no one else is happy with me doing it. So
And
oh
that's the
God, this
fear of rejection.
yeah, yeah. So they just, yeah, they stop. So just, oh my God, this call is just full of like mind-blowing moments. I'll move on to the next question. And I guess you've kind of already answered this, but I guess just like pinpointing, we hear people say that we want more abundance, but then sabotage opportunities or say no to things that can help them grow. I guess they say they kind of resist coaching, all those sorts of things. Like, what does this reveal about their relationship with receiving, and how can they kind of shift that?
Yeah, and it's yeah, as we said, it's layered and it's a lot of things. I guess the trust wound and what you were talking about before, just previously, really this has to come from within.
Hmm.
If you are truly grounded in alignment with what you're doing, because it is a soul calling, it is, giving yourself permission, and things, then you're going to come from a different place with all of this. It's not going to, when you come into something like this and it's not coming from an inner place, an inner alignment, it's going to create wobbles. And so you really do need to identify and align with what you're doing, the integrity of what you're doing. So if you aren't, this is what it's going to look like. Um, Imagine driving to Sydney Airport and the big billboards that are there, and you see your face, with this product or with your business logos or whatever, your business sitting up there. How would you react? And that would be a telltale sign of what you need to work on. So if you were going to go, oh my God, I hope none of my family see this, and you're going to cringe and just like slink down in the car and hope no one notices, or you're going to go, oh my God, that's me, there I am, and take photos and put it on social media straight away, or, are you somewhere in the middle there? If you really need to be, oh my God, that's great, and in a really good way from within. So I mean, that's really where you want your people to come from,
Yeah.
because then they'll be able to speak about what they're doing with integrity, and the energy. Energy doesn't lie. If you don't truly believe in what you're doing, the energy will show that. And so you need to work on what is going on here before you start talking about it out here.
Yeah.
Like, notice when that comes up. So I think those other things that we talked about also sit here, where there's the trust wound. It's not safe for me to have that much money. The judgment wound about money is evil. We've talked about that. And with the scarcity wound, and if we've got this relationship with money that says it always disappoints me and it's going to leave me, well, then we're not going to bother doing all the work to get it in.
Yeah.
If you've got a pattern that every time you start something and then sabotage, start something and sabotage, and then this opportunity comes along and you go, yes, I'm excited again. And then you've got this pattern of, I'm not good enough, not worthy. And you begin the sabotage again. And so it's going to leave me anyway, or it's going to end anyway. I won't bother.
Yeah.
So that one sits in there. So my key to getting out of this is to understand your money stories. And Charlotte touched on that at the beginning, is we all have money stories. So we need to get into the nitty gritty of that. What's going on? What is my pattern? What was my first beliefs around money from observing my parents? What was it like when I first bought my car? Did I actually have a disaster? And that's caused me to never want to spend big again. Or I got a whole lot of money in and then we got divorced and I lost it. Or, like there's stories. And from those stories, we formed a belief that money isn't good for me in some way, um, or some, story like that that's wrapped around it. So we block it. So I'll give you an example of how to break that down. When I was getting divorced from my first husband, we were auctioning our house, and it was an amazing auction. And I just wanted to come out of it with enough, like that we didn't owe anything. It was a great auction. It was one of those ones where people were bidding against each other. I'm going, oh my God, this is exciting. Hammer goes down. I'm so thrilled because we made a profit and we could get out of this marriage without debt. And then the person who came along, who bought the property and we were signing contracts, um, said, how dare you? I hope you can sleep at night. You had someone planted in the audience and, said awful things.
Yeah.
So what's happened for me then is energetically, I've kind of shrunk, gone, oh my God. And from that, I've formed this belief. There was shock, there was fear because he was intimidating. And I formed this belief that money coming to me easily ends in discomfort and getting into trouble. So then, if money was to come to me easy without me working hard and doing it the traditional way, I'm going to block it.
You'd be apprehensive. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've all got a million of those stories sitting there in your memory banks, in your cells, and they're all telling a story about, whoops, don't do that, be careful. Nervous system is taking that all in.
Yeah.
And we can sometimes align to our nervous system and think, oh, this isn't good for me, and think we're aligning, but we're actually aligning to our shadow.
Yeah.
So there's a lot in there, I know. If you need me to unpack
Yeah.
anything, let me know.
Yeah, I think the personal analogies are really good because you can give all this information, but unless you've got a personal experience to attach it to that people can go, oh my God, that's happened to me, or something similar has happened to me. I've lived that. It's very hard for people to kind of like put two and two together, especially if they're not on the same spiritual journey or going down that path that some of us in the core are. And you've touched on a little bit of about this, but this is more for like a career. So people that are having financial freedom, some people feel like they're having financial freedom or doing something different, like starting a business. But then there's people out there that go, no, that's just not for me. Like that's not for people like me, and they're
Mm.
blocking that opportunity. I guess. How do these kinds of unconscious beliefs, like that's not for me, like I'm not interested. I guess people can not be interested if it's not for them, but how does blocking an opportunity, like I guess shape our beliefs and um,
Yeah.
stop stop us from pursuing something that could be potentially great?
Yeah. Well, for all the reasons that we've just said, I think firstly, I have to say that thing about like true integrity and alignment. You really need to be able to be in a space where you can look at that billboard and be in alignment. So whatever you do has to be authentically right for you. You can fake it for a while. And if it's not for you, it won't be sustainable, right?
Right.
It'll be hard work and effort. It'll be overwhelming burnout. So I think authenticity and trusting yourself to follow your own unique path and dreams is really important first up. Um, and so not to kind of force yourself. It's an inner job. You can't align yourself to something that you're not ready for. So sometimes we have to just allow people to find their way to that point of frustration or need for change themselves. We can't always get them to see it. That's the frustrating part as a healer too. So there is that. But there is all of those things that we mentioned before. If you have ancestral patternings or beliefs where you've watched your parents struggle in a business, and that they worked night and day and ended up, hating each other or divorcing, and it sort of feels like it was all around the business, you're going to have that lodged in your memory bank and think, I can either have love or a business. And so all of these stories, these memories do play into this kind of thing. And as we say, it's an individual thing, but there will be something in there that it's either not for them, and that's okay, right? And with confidence to say that, but it could be that I'm scared of risk. I don't feel safe. And we can also carry this kind of prostitute archetype. If we are really coming from scarcity, we can stay in jobs, we can stay in relationships for the money. And that is really damaging to our soul, when we really dream for something else, but we just can't. It's like a responsibility wound. Like, I've got to put everyone else first before my desires. So those things play in as well. And as women, that mother wound thing really comes in, particularly with women, is if we have had our needs shoved down from day dot. If you've, you know, haven't had a lot of money in the family, and it's, there's not enough money in the budget, we don't have that. And then you come home and say there's a school excursion and your mum's face drops, or
Yeah.
your dad gets angry, another expense or something, and blows up. You are going to slowly stop asking for those things. And so therefore you get trained to not do what you desire. If your
Yeah.
needs can't even be met, you're not even going to go for a desire. So you've been trained into that. So that all of those things can sit underneath the thought process and sabotage that can happen in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It just my mind went when you were talking about the family with the business early on and having a lot of money, talk about wealth, all that sort of stuff. It kind of took me back to the first kind of analogy that you used with being in like superhero movies where there's the rich villain and the little vigilante, like the little hero that come and saves the day. I guess it also goes back to like when you look at a lot of like CEOs, big company people that have a lot of responsibility, they're usually quite lonely. Like the media
Yes.
perceives them as being quite lonely. So we kind of go,
Yeah.
well, I don't want to be lonely, so I don't want to have a lot of money.
It's love or money.
Yeah, yeah. It just light bulb moment happened in my mind
That's a
when
big
you
one.
talked about that. And you kind of answered my next question, so I'm probably going to skip that one.
Okay.
But I guess my last question is, do you believe there are business models or environments that naturally support this kind of personal and energetic transformation? How can something like community-driven affiliate models such as LifeVantage's model help people shift their beliefs and step into new levels of income and freedom?
Yeah, I think that there is a shift where we are talking more about consent marketing, and we are, not going into the patriarchal models and strategies. There is a shift away from all of that happening. I think we still got a long way to go. But as I talked about before, with entrepreneurs and sole traders in particular, we need to find a community of some sort, or like-minded people who are willing to support, mentor them, and in that environment where all ships rise on the tide. So some of these models that you're talking about can support that, and also sometimes you need an example of someone that has been successful. It's good to sort of look at people around you that have got, are a little bit ahead of you, that have achieved something that you're going for, and it gives you, when you are close, this is a real spiritual thing, but you can translate this into this business thing of being around people that inspire you. When you are on a spiritual path, and say people, work with ascended masters or deities, and it feels a little bit woohoo that they're maybe worshiping them, they're not actually worshiping them. What they're doing is calling those deities to them. So if, say, for example, Mother Mary is someone we all know and have heard of, and she has that real essence and quality of mother energy. What happens when we call that forth? We're not bowing down to them. What we're doing is calling that essence forth. So that essence vibrates within you. So the same thing happens with these mentors and things energetically. We are looking at them as though they've got something potentially we don't have, but you really do have it if you can see it in them. So if you could see their inspiration, their confidence, you would be actually bringing them closer to you, so that could be sparked within you, because when they're close, it activates. So
Yeah.
that's why that's really important energetically.
That was
So
a virus. We'd want to catch that one.
yeah, yeah, right. It's also important in these environments to talk about money like we are today, like to be real about money, because that's one of the wounds is we
Mm.
don't talk about it in our successes, and we don't talk about it in our struggles. It's just taboo. We're too scared. We're afraid of the judgment.
And by doing that, we give it power.
Absolutely, we give our power away. So that's where I think those kind of models And in some ways, I guess you've got the strategy with franchises and all those sorts of things where, some of the hard work and strategies have been done for you. And so you can slip in. But I also still think it's important to be you in this. There are a million hairdressers out there, but no one's going to do it exactly the same way. No one's approach is going to be exactly the same way. The same as these businesses, is that you really have to find your sweet spot, and not every strategy is going to be yours.
Hmm.
Like there'll be different ways you want to share the information. I love to talk, as you can tell, right? And so me sitting down and writing a lot isn't really the best idea. So within some of these models, which I know you're kind of restricted in some ways, or there are boundaries in some ways, you've got to find your uniqueness in that and be your voice
Yeah.
in that and
Yeah.
your expression within
Yeah.
that.
I
And that
feel
will,
like there's a few trainings that I've done. It's come from different people, and it's that people join you because they like, know, and trust you. So being authentically you is what draws people in.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, because you are operating at your frequency,
Yeah.
right? And they unconsciously think there could even be a soul contract to work with you.
Yeah.
And unless you're sitting in your frequency, they're not going to find you
No.
because the radio station isn't dialed in,
Yeah,
right?
they're not tuned in.
Yeah.
So
So
I guess what advice would you give to someone who knows that they need a change, that they're burnt out, they're underpaid, they're unfulfilled, but they're afraid of trying something new or different? There is that block.
honestly, it has to, there has to be that moment for them where they need to make the change. It has really got to, the spark has got to come from within. And I call that first spark the initiation of answering the call.
Yeah.
They've got to answer the call. And sometimes it comes like a Mack truck hitting you. Sometimes it comes very subtly. For me, I was sitting in a business. I did a bookkeeping business prior to my spiritual business. And someone in my office said, I'm going to go and do counseling, I think it was. And I went, oh, yeah, boring. And then they came back 2 weeks later and said they're doing hypnotherapy. And something hit a chord within me. I had to leave the room. I went downstairs and burst into tears. And I, at that point, was not someone who was emotional at all because I had numbed myself, was not feeling at all, not in my body at all. Now I know. I didn't know back then. So I thought, why am I crying? And I thought, I want that.
Yeah.
There was just something in within me that I want that. And so you do have to answer that call, and I did. There was lots of ups and downs and struggles and fears that I had to go to even to say yes, but I did answer that call. And then you have to give yourself permission. So really, ultimately, it does have to come from within them, but to let them know that you are worth it. It really has to come from that. And you have to work out what is the block, what is the fear, and it could be that responsibility thing. It could be that money thing that I can't leave that job. And so if we can get down to that level, you can then work on it
Yeah.
and attack it. But when it remains unknown and just hidden, that wall feels viscerally real for some people. And I think you've got to really have compassion for that. So ultimately, it does have to come from within, and they do have to answer that call, but we can gently be the example for them, and it will have a ripple effect.
Yeah.
You don't have to be at them telling them, this is the best thing ever. You can be that. You can be the lighthouse for them.
Yeah,
And
embody
they
that,
see the
show them that
change.
show them
Yeah.
it's possible,
Yeah.
be that person so that they go, well, hang on a minute, if you can do it, I can. And again, it's the same thing, having that mentor, have being close to that person, learning from them, all those sorts of things. It really makes you believe that anything's possible. You can achieve anything if you put
And
your mind.
telling your story. Like I just told you a couple of my stories, and
Yeah.
you go, oh, really? Like I couldn't even
Yeah.
in a million years imagine I would be sitting here doing this. Not in a
Yeah.
million years.
Yeah.
And so when people can tell you, they go, oh, you look confident and everything. I said, do you know how scared I was before I came on?
Yeah.
Like that's the other thing too, is like having babies. You will never be ready,
Yeah.
right? So get over that
Yeah.
and just get used to some discomfort because there is no comfort in growth.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a stretch. It's always going to be a dip, but you weren't meant to be and the flip side, I'm never into the pain points, but the flip side is if you don't follow that dream, a Mac track will hit you, like you lose your job or you'll get ill. Like
Yeah.
suppressing will
Yeah.
eventually
Yeah.
have an effect.
Have an effect.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
just incredible. Wow. Okay, so many golden nuggets in this call. Thank you so much, Michelle.
You're so welcome.
But I just want to end this off by saying, like, if anything Michelle has shared with anyone on this call has lit a fire under you, imagine pairing that with an upgraded mindset, pairing the upgraded mindset with a system that's already designed to pay you for sharing wellness solutions that you believe in. So this is exactly what the LifeVantage consultant model does. It's a plug and play product backed by science, so you're not inventing something from scratch. It's a compensation plan that scales with your growth. There's no income ceiling. You can earn as much as your heart desires. A personal development ecosystem that supports you expanding, not contracting. So we have that self growth. You don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to wait for the promotion. You can go at it and just fly if that's what you're intending to doing. And it's a field tested support community so that so you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. So I guess all of these things, I've always said that like network marketing came to me 3.5 years ago. I've been in multiple network marketing businesses. This was my third. And nothing has lit a fire in me more than LifeVantage has because I truly believe that network marketing is self-development with a compensation plan. The amount that I've grown since starting this company, like I don't even, if I was to look at myself 3.5 years ago, I would not be the same person. It like a completely different person, spiritually, energetically, my self-worth has completely changed. And I think when we have calls like this and we can kind of identify where we're stuck, it just opens up a whole new opportunity because you realize that you're not stuck working that 9 to 5 job or working in a career that really doesn't fulfill your soul. So if any of this has resonated with you, contact the person that invited you to this call to get started. Have a chat with them. They're going to be your mentor. They're going to help you achieve everything that you want to achieve. And we're in this business to build each other, which is something that you really don't get from corporate jobs. I know like everyone's fighting for that promotion, so there's no real lift each other up kind of energy, I guess, in other roles that I've experienced. And I know that someone did ask in the chat whether Michelle does any courses. Yes, she does. I'm going to put her contact information in our Telegram thread, our Team Activate Telegram thread. So if you want to contact Michelle, you can contact her there. But I want to thank everyone for being on this call. So many mind-blowing moments that I've experienced. So thank you so much, Michelle. I really, really appreciate your time. You've gone over by 30 minutes, but I feel like it was absolutely necessary because I feel like a lot of people would have gotten something from this call. So thank you all so much for spending an hour with us on your Saturday morning. I hope you go have a wonderful weekend, reflect, and yes, just grow, I guess. Just stay out of that comfort zone and just grow as a person. It's just going to be incredible what you can all achieve. So thank you all. Have a great Saturday.